As an academy owner, you work hard to build trust with your students, their parents, and your community. But trust isn't something you claim, it's something you prove and earn. That's where Academy Safe comes in. We help academies like yours stand out with verified safety standards. Background checks for all staff, U.S. Center for Safe Sports certification, concussion training, defibrillators on site, CPR, first aid and AED certification, security cameras, rank and lineage checks, and verification of business insurance. Join the trusted martial arts registry that's redefining safety throughout North America. Lead by example. Show parents you're accredited with Academy Safe.
Hello, and welcome to My Empty Hands, a podcast about the martial arts, typically focused on Kempo, but we give love to all the martial arts around here. I am Reggie Darden, and I have another wonderful guest with me today, Mr. John Barhoover. I know we didn't go over the pronunciation of your name, but just it wouldn't be my show if I didn't butcher somebody's name. So
no, you were pretty correct on that.
Very good. So yeah, we are going to get into his story here in just a moment, his origin story, and also talk about he's also a fellow podcaster. So we'll certainly touch on that as well. But yeah, I usually start things off with just giving a little bit of my background. I currently train in multiple martial arts at this point: American Kempo, Hapkido, Capoeira, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Muay Thai. I also have some experience doing Taekwondo and some boxing as well. So, like I like to always say, I stay busy, but it's having fun and just learning a lot. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So let's go ahead and turn it over to our esteemed guest here. How did the martial arts find you? Where did it all start? And we'll just go from there.
Yes, sir. So I started martial arts pretty late in life. I'm 44 years old now. Straight out of high school, I joined the military, and I did several deployments over to Iraq, and I've been all over the world with the military. I did from 2003 to 2004 and a half. I did. I lived in Korea. I was stationed at Osan Air Base, and it's interesting because Taekwondo, which is my specialty, is what came from South Korea. But when you go over there, you don't see any martial arts gyms or studios or dojos or dojongs anywhere. It's really, really weird. But talking to a couple of our allies over there, because we work very closely with the South Korean military, they learn their martial arts primarily in school. It's part of their curriculum. And then, when they graduate, it's a requirement that they fulfill 2 years of military service, and they also continue training in the military in martial arts. So over there, you don't see any of that. You see a lot of tailors, you see a lot of, food vendors, a lot of bars. There's a lot of bars over by the military base there. So, I didn't get very much exposure to that. I mean, I had a couple of the allies, showing me a couple things, but I didn't get very much into that. I was never really a big fighter. I was really never big into self-defense or anything like that growing up. I played football, baseball, hockey, track. I skied. I kept myself busy with a lot of sports, but martial arts was not one of them. Fast forward, then I get out of the military. I spent 17 and a half years in the military, and then I went IRR because my wife had some very serious health complications, and I ended my military service because I needed to be here with her because she had brainstem surgery. So in order to take care of her, I ended my military service at 17 and a half years, which is okay. But then I was a police officer at the time. And my real first introduction to martial arts was in the police academy. I went to Kent State Trumbull Police Academy, and we had a segment called Defensive Tactics, and we did it every week, multiple times a week. And we had classes on it. And there was a very esteemed instructor. His name's Mickey Yurko, and very good martial artist, very from our area up here in Youngstown, Ohio. But I always seemed to be his punching bag. He goes, "Come here, do it now." I'm like, okay. And then next thing I know, he does these pressure points on me, does these arm locks, these arm bars. I'm like, this stuff's really, really cool. I need to learn this. And I got out of that, and then I graduated the police academy, and I started my police journey in 2009, and it kind of fell off for a while. And I married, I met my wife and married her, and after several years of courting, and she had a young son, 8 years old at the time, and we weren't very close. And he was really, really big into baseball, but he's kind of a heavier kid, so he quit baseball. He just lost interest in it. Lost interest in baseball and basketball. Loves watching them, but lost interest in doing them. So I'm racking my brain trying to think, okay, we got to find something for him to do to be active. And at the time, I was working as a deputy sheriff in the Job and Family Services building in Warren, Ohio. And I met my future Master Darren Warren. Probably one of the best people you'll ever meet in this world. He is just a fantastic guy. He's one of the type of guys that, if you need something, you call him, he's there. It doesn't matter what time it is, doesn't matter what day it is, doesn't matter what he's doing, he'll drop it. So he has become more family to me. And so I was telling him my conundrum with my stepson. Wasn't doing martial arts time. We became friends before we were, he was my instructor. And he's like, well, I run a Taekwondo school. Why don't you bring him down? I'm like, okay. So I came home and I talked to my wife about it, and she said, we could go try it out. So we went there, and Cody's like, this is okay. I'm not doing it unless you do it with me. I'm like, well, I had no interest at the time in doing that because I was so busy with everything. And I'm like, okay, if he's going to do it, I guess I'll do it with him. So we did it. And Cody lasted about a year, maybe a year and a half, maybe. And he lost interest in that and quit. I'm like, well, I'm almost to my red belt. I'm like, you know what? I'm so close to being a black belt. You know what? I'm not going to quit. So I said, I'll go to black belt, and then, I'll hang it up. Well, that didn't, no, I got the bug, and I kept going. And, I fell in love with it. I started learning to teach under Master Warren and, train. And, it was my out. As a police officer, you see a lot of devastating things. I just read a recent statistic that the average human being, American human being, sees 4 traumatic events in their lifetime. A police officer sees about 800 in their career. So, yeah, doing martial arts, it took my mind off some of the bad things that were going on, that I was having to deal with at work, and stuff at home. I have a great family, and I but sometimes you need an out, and so that was one of them. So I trained, and then Master Warren's school ended up failing for a number of reasons I'm not going to get into, but so his master at the time was a guy named Master Justin Taylor. He runs a junior Taekwondo school in Boardman, Ohio. And he's like, okay, so he's going to switch. I said, okay. So I asked Master Warren, I said, can I go with you? And he's like, well, yeah. So he called Master Justin Taylor, and so we ended up going there. So I was there for, I don't know, 8-9 years or something like that, and COVID hit, and we all know how COVID had acted with gyms and everything. The governor of the state of Ohio shut down all gyms and camping and anywhere where people were going to be. So Master Justin Taylor had a difficult time, so we started recording and training and recording, recording workouts in order to keep his students and myself and him and everybody active. So I helped him, and there's Master Steven Siebold. He's a good friend of mine. He was there at the time, so we were helping with all that stuff and just keeping everything open. Well, fast forward to the end of my journey there, shortly after COVID. There were some differences and things, and Master Warren wanted to go back and reopen his school. So he found an opportunity to do that, and I went with him. I left with him to go to the junior taekwondo school, and then I left with him again to start up his own school again, called New Wave Junior Taekwondo School, not New Wave. I'm sorry, New Wave Taekwondo in Newton Falls, Ohio. And we've been there for, I think this is going on our fifth or sixth year. So we've been there for quite some time, and we've been growing steadily. But I owe a lot to Master Taylor, and I owe a lot to Master Warren. But there's another individual, my current Grandmaster AJ Perry. So when I split from the junior taekwondo school, I was at AAU state tournament in Ohio. Not sure if you're familiar with AAU taekwondo.
This sounds familiar.
So AAU Taekwondo is the largest amateur athletic union in the United States. They do basketball. I think they have football. I think they have all these different sports. But Taekwondo, they're very heavily involved with Taekwondo. You either got AAU or USAT. So those are the big organizations for martial arts, for Taekwondo. So I ran into Grandmaster AJ Perry, who actually sat in on my second dawn test, and I, walked up to him, bowed to him, and he recognized me, and we had a little talk, and we talked about what was going on and the split and everything like that, and so at the junior taekwondo school, I was learning World Taekwondo. So World Taekwondo is Kukiwan Taekwondo, as much as it can be, but my lineage is actually Muda Kwan. At my previous school, we didn't really get into much of the traditional. We did more of the WT because that's what you need to learn to compete in AAU anyway at the time. AAU has since opened it up to Tung Sudo and ITF and all these other traditional Korean martial arts styles. So after speaking with Grandmaster AJ Perry, I told him, I said, listen, sir, with all due respect, I want to learn my lineage, because Grandmaster AJ Perry was the late Grandmaster Myung-Won Kim, senior student, who was also Justin Taylor, actually fell under that lineage as well. So being that we were we were from the same lineage, but I didn't know the traditional stuff, and I had a very high interest in that, because I think the traditional martial arts, if younger folks don't start learning it, it's eventually going to slowly go by the wayside, because in order to compete, you have to know the WT stuff. So he agreed, and he took me under his wing, and now I'm learning Tung Sudo. So there's another guy named Grandmaster Sean Gordon, who was part of our school, and he's a American Kempo guy. So I did do some American Kempo stuff. I think I got up to blue belt, but he split back and opened up his own school again. So, but I primarily do Taekwondo, and then with a dash of Judo in there. So those are, that's my passion. That's what I love to do. So that brings us up to today's date, and there was a lot of competition in there, by the way. So.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, we're gonna definitely touch on the competition part. Mm-hmm. Just wanted to kind of go back a little bit. Before your military service, had you had any exposure to martial arts or anything before that?
Not much. I had a couple school fights and a couple suspensions, but no, not too much. I mean, I always wanted to, but I didn't come from a wealthy family. I came from a very working class family. My mom was worked at General Motors, and my dad was a long distance truck driver, and he came home like 2 weeks out of the year. So there was a little bit of a lack of father figure in my life. My grandfather pretty much took the realm on that, and he was always there for anything I needed. He taught me to drive and all that stuff, but no, not too much. Loved the Ninja Turtles growing up, and I loved all the martial arts movies, and I had a very high interest in it, but I didn't really seek out any schools because I knew what the answer would be. At my high school and middle school, there was free events for me to go to, so martial arts wasn't a big thing for me at the time. But I found my love in my early 30s, late 20s,
Gotcha.
early 30s.
Gotcha. Now, so then moving to your time on the police force. I have been watching. I can only describe as a obscene amount of body cam videos, and I'm just probably obsessed at this point with that. And one of the things that I've been wanting to do, especially one on the show, I've been wanting to have law enforcement officers and military people and even looking into paramedics and things like that, people that have had to potentially use their martial arts skills in real life. And just getting that viewpoint, because in watching these videos, a lot of these ones that I see, if you're in law enforcement and you're not doing martial arts, I'll put a little more juice or emphasis on grappling art, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, of course, or judo or wrestling or something like that. I think you're really doing yourself a disservice. I've seen way too many videos where, you can't judge a book by its cover, and you can't judge a suspect by their look. But I've seen way too many of these videos where someone that should have been rather, I guess, just for lack of a better term, easily subdued, is able to get away from and fight off 6, 7, 8 cops, and it's just it's mind-boggling to me when you're in that position and you can't get somebody tied up or whatever, and I understand that there are a lot of rules and stuff that police officers have these days, and the suspects don't have any rules, and
Right.
we could debate all of that, but just having that training is huge and definitely a must in my book. So just kind of curious, I guess I guess you weren't, and correct me if I'm wrong, you weren't kind of all into the arts while you were an officer, but was there kind of any experience in any of your martial arts experience that you had to apply there, or was there times where you're like, oh man, I wish I would have learned more or trained more by this point when having to deal with a particular situation?
Right. So you bring up a good point, sir. In the police world, on average, the average human being is on camera at least 70 times a day. Whether you're walking into a grocery store, you're walking through a parking lot that has cameras, or somebody, starts videoing you, or traffic cameras. I mean, you're on camera constantly throughout the day, and a lot of people don't even realize that. That is the digital age. So with that being said, as a police officer, when you have to go hands-on with somebody, perception is everything. there's techniques you can use, and you have to apply those techniques, and there's a use of force, and I mean, you use that use of force to whatever degree that that is necessary for for an apprehension. I mean, if somebody has a knife and they're within stabbing distance of you, that's considered deadly force. If somebody has a pipe, also could be a deadly force situation. The law is it's black and white, but there's gray. There's a lot of gray. If you use any type of force to subdue somebody and they get hurt, you always run the legal liability of being sued, whether you're cleared criminally or not. There's a thing called the civil court. So even if I apprehend somebody, which is and they get a broken bone, which has happened, I wasn't charged or anything. I mean, I used the correct amount of force that seemed necessary, or that was necessary at the time. But that being said, if I'm cleared by my department and the prosecutor's office and or BCI or any of those 3-letter agencies, I still run the risk of being sued. So you always have to take that into consideration. So when you're going hands-on with somebody, you have to be very mindful of your surroundings. I mean, you have to treat it like you're on video, you're going to make Fox News or you're going to make CNN, because perception is everything. Even though you might be doing something right, people can view it as wrong, and then you're guilty in the court of public opinion. So I always look for techniques that, open hand strikes. Open hand strikes look way better than a closed fist strike. Does that make sense?
So, oh, yes, totally.
So, I mean, it's techniques. In the police academy, I'm not sure what they're what they're teaching now in defensive tactics, but they teach arm bars, they teach wrist locks, they teach, escort position, things where, if somebody's cuffed, where to position your body, gun side away from the suspect or from the arrestee or whatever, or the suspect. The way you stand when you're talking to somebody, interviewing them, it's called an interview stance. You don't want to stand with your hands down. You want to stand with your hands up, open palms. So, if they go to strike you, you can parry or that stuff. So they do teach you in the academy basic self-defense, but it's nowhere near what I've gone through Taekwondo or Judo or any of that stuff. It is way different, and I have used some martial arts. When somebody went to hit me, you parry, and then you redirect, and you grab the wrist and wrist locks and things like that. I have done that, but a street fight is way different than a tournament. It's way different than you being in the dojo or the studio or whatever you call it or whatever but because we're training specific self-defense. Okay, grab the arm, no, grab this arm, because you should train both sides of your body, because you never know what could happen. But in the heat of the moment, everything's out the window. I mean, it's just a lot of muscle memory for me at this point. So that's my take on it.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's a couple of things that you mentioned that brought some thoughts into my mind.
Sure.
One being in the Kempo school that I train at, it's a big thing about the different perspectives. There's yours, the bad guys, and the bystanders.
Right.
And a lot of the times when we're working our self-defense techniques, a lot of times we start off in a position where it's like hands up, hey, I don't want to fight you, I don't want to do anything,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. And then if they attack, then you respond,
mm-hmm.
and you have that. Hey, it's somebody. The cops show up and somebody's laying on the ground, and it's like, oh, well, what happened? Well, I was defending myself. That person's knocked out, and then what were the people that were around? What did they see? Oh, we saw this guy with his hands up, and and then stuff went down. So, yeah, that's a big thing to take into consideration these days. The other thing that comes to mind is, yeah, there's cameras and things everywhere, and yeah, we're being, recorded, watched, however you want to look at it all the time. And there was something, and perspective is everything. In that, so out here, I'm in the Dallas Fort Worth area,
Okay.
and I believe in the earlier part of the year, there was a situation where a lady was pulled over in a traffic stop, and she got a little unfriendly with the police officer, and there was a situation that broke out, and she happened to be recording the incident, or her son who was in the car was recording the incident, and of course that video went viral of, oh well, this cop is manhandling this lady and all of this situation, and I guess there was some kind of big lawsuit and stuff that came out. Well, the police department released their body cam, and of course, lo and behold, this lady's viral footage didn't have the whole encounter.
Right.
And we just see, oh well, this cop is yanking this lady out of the car, but the body cam footage showed, oh well, the lady was combative right from the start. She tried to throw the citation, and she refused the officer's commands, and just all these kind of things. And
Right.
once again, it's one of these situations where when her video came out and we just saw that one side, we just saw that one viewpoint. Oh, it looks bad. It looks like this cop is just doing all the wrong things. And so, yeah, having that, being able to see both sides really paints situations in a different picture. And kind of going along with that, some of these videos that I've been watching lately, for whatever reason, they have both the police's video and then the suspect or a witness or somebody else's video. And every one of those cases, you just see this very different sides of the issue.
Yes.
Depending on who's watching it. So
100%. What a lot of people don't know, at least here in Ohio, a traffic citation is actually a summons to issue for you to go to court. So by refusing to sign the citation, you could be arrested for that. And are you typically? No, but push comes to shove. Yeah, it's a court summons for you to appear in court for the violation that you performed on the road. I'm not sure about Texas law, but yeah. So I mean, that take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, that was, I believe that was pretty much the situation with this lady. It was just like, hey, just take the ticket. No, it doesn't mean that you were guilty. I mean, I think she sped through a school zone or something along those lines, and she just was already having a bad day, and
Yes, sir.
she took it too far. But and I believe the officer even said, like, oh, like, this isn't a mission of guilt. We're not going to try and debate what happened.
Right.
Just you did something, or you allegedly did something. I saw it, and now I'm giving you this thing. And she wouldn't accept it. She threw it back at him, and he's like, oh, now you're littering. And it just kind of spiraled from there. But yeah, it's it really surprises me how many people don't, you can think however you want about police or whatever, but it just, someone once said, and I've been thinking about this a lot, is don't treat the police like the police. Treat the police like someone that has a gun on their hip. And it kind of boggles my mind on how many people don't treat people with a visible gun on their hip in such a, I'm not saying that cops can do whatever they want, or anybody with a gun can do whatever they want, but I'm certainly going to think twice about mouthing off to them or not doing what they say. But
Well, in the grand scheme of
it's a
things,
situation.
Mr. Darden, in the grand scheme of things, we're people. You know, you, I've I've been called some of the most horrendous things in the world. And you know what? These people don't. The people don't view us as human beings, and that's a problem. And that's 90% of the problem that we go through because we wear bulletproof vests, but we're not bulletproof. Some of the stuff that they say about, us or our family or things like that, you kind of brush it off, but, I don't care who you are. I mean, you hear it and you continue to hear it and you continue to hear it and it affects you. I mean, a little bit. I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt and you got to take it from the sort that it's coming from. But, there's way too much hate in this world. And, I should have been a firefighter because everybody's happy when a firefighter shows up. But, it's that's the only way I can put it. We see people on the worst possible moment of their life 9 times out of 10. It's the worst moment at that time in their life. And we have to deal with all this nonsense. And on top of that, we're supposed to de-escalate. For every 100 cops, there might be 1 or 2 bad, and those 1 or 2 bad make the news, and then those newsworthy people, it spreads. So the general public, some of them don't have a positive outlook on the police. And it is what it is, but we still have a job to do, and ultimately, I want to go home every night. I don't want to end up a statistic. So
Exactly. All right. So let's go ahead and I want to make sure that we get
martial arts.
to some certain points
Sure.
in our kind of limited time. But let's just touch a little bit on the competition part of it. Was that something that you were always interested in, or did you?
I didn't know how big it was when I first started. We didn't have huge tournaments in my local area. In Ohio, there's a lot of martial arts tournaments. It's big. Cleveland, especially. Cleveland area was one of the biggest hubs for martial arts in Ohio. Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus. Then you got Pittsburgh with Grandmaster C.S. Kim. And you got Cleveland with the late Grandmaster Myung Kim, and you got some very, very, very well-known people that have brought martial arts over from Korea, especially Korea. That's because that's what I'm familiar with. So no, I didn't have a big interest in it. My first year in competition, I heard about a competition. It was called the Battle of Columbus, which was the Arnold Classic. It's one of the biggest fitness conventions in the country, if not the biggest fitness convention in the country. And that was a huge martial arts tournament. It was run by the late Grandmaster Jun P. Che, and he ran a wonderful tournament. And I was a yellow belt, and I hadn't been practicing very long, but I knew I wanted to go, and I knew I wanted to compete. I was late 20s, early 30s, maybe, right around there, and I had no idea what to expect. Master War, I kept asking Master War, what's this all about? Am I gonna be okay? What do I expect? He's like, oh, you'll see. I'm not gonna ruin it for you. You got experience. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? I've got to experience this. Because I'm the type of person, I prepare for everything. I want to know what's coming. I want to know how to prepare for it. He's like, oh, you'll see. You're fine. Okay. So I get down to Columbus. It was in Columbus, Ohio. And I get to my hotel, and I check into my hotel. That's another story. It was a Red Roof Inn, and halfway through the night, I found a bed bug and I freaked out. So I had to change my hotel room. So on top of the anxiety for the tournament. I had the anxiety of changing a hotel room and not knowing if there's more bugs in this other room or whatever. So that was insane. So, I had to hype myself up. So I think I watched a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie and Bloodsport, and I hyped myself up with that. And then I get up the next morning and head over to the convention center. And I walked in, and it was about the size of a football field, maybe a little bigger. It was at the Ohio State Fairgrounds, and I walk in, and there's thousands of people. I'm like, what the heck did I get myself into? And it was all, I did breaking, I did forms, I did arpumse, I did sparring, and I did point sparring, and, it was just insane. So as a 30-some-year-old, 30-some-year-old yellow belt, there wasn't very many GUP students that were my age, my weight class, and my gender, and everything like that. So my very first sparring match, I had to spar a black belt, and I'm a yellow belt. And at the time, I was very intimidated because this guy's a black belt. He must be a BA, badass. And I didn't know what to expect. So I get up there, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to punch this dude as hard as I can, and maybe he'll just go down. So I get up there, and, during Jusset, and Sija, and we go. And he hits me like 3 times before I know it. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, okay, so we go again. And I score a couple points on him. It actually went down to the golden point, and he beat me with a chest kick, front push kick. And I'm like, because I opened myself up. I was trying to move around and be cognizant. So he beat me. But that was a very good feeling as a yellow belt to fight an exhibition match against a black belt and almost come victorious on that. So that was one of the ones I remember very vividly. There's more, but that's one of the ones I remember very vividly. And then I remember during that match, we heard all this yelling, and everything came to a stop. Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger was making his way through the arena because it's his event. So at that time, I think I was winning maybe by a point, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger comes walking in, and we have to stop, and we shut down for like 15 minutes. Then we have to start the match up in the middle where we left off, and I lost. So that was that.
Well, if any way to lose, I think that's the way to do it.
It was pretty cool.
With the celebrity status and fighting a black belt as a yellow belt, I think is a pretty big deal, pretty big milestone. So I would take it as a positive feather in my cap.
Let me add this. In Taekwondo, in Pumse competition, my grandmaster AJ Perry told me that if you place first, second, third, or now third, that's a huge accomplishment because you're only separated by like 1/10 of a point. If your stance, you rotate your foot a little bit, or you make a little bit tighter fist, or you put a little snap, or even a shout or a key up. Key up is a shout. That's all part of the grade. That's all part of the judge. And he told me that first, second, third, if you place, you win. You're a winner. I mean, because the next go around, it might be slightly, you do something a little bit slightly different, then you bump up one, and you can get second or third, or you can get second or first. I mean, so even placing in a martial arts Pumse competition, it's huge. And I think a lot of people take that for granted because they, I didn't get first, this is BS, or, blah, 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 or I didn't place. You didn't place because you didn't work hard enough. You didn't place. It's not because you're not good enough. I've come to find out, and this is my opinion, and my opinion alone. A good martial artist is not a lazy martial artist. A winner works hard. They work at home. They work at the gym. They live the martial lifestyle. Those are the ones that typically come out on top. The ones that are excuse my language, bitching or moaning, those are the ones that are walking around the gym with their hands in their pockets, or, when they ask for volunteers, they kind of step back, and they don't want to work as hard as other folks, if that makes any sense. So that's my 2 cents on that. First, second, or third, I don't think I've ever not placed in an event. I've always placed first, second, or third. But I always took those as a win. And not only that, if I didn't place, I take that as a learning experience, because I'm obviously doing something wrong. They're doing something a little harder than I am. It's like the Notre Dame theme: train like a champion today, play like a champion today, train like a champion for tomorrow. That's how I feel.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, that reminds me of a thing that's been said. Someone goes into a martial arts school and ask, oh, well, how long does it take an average person to get a black belt? And the answer is never, because average person doesn't get to a black belt. And
yes, sir.
Same thing with the competitions. It's like, so what if you place, or if you don't, you're doing better than the person that didn't train, that didn't get up and get out there. We see that a lot in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I did my first Jiu-Jitsu tournament last year, and I was of course nervous and everything, and I got arm barred pretty quick, and you kind of beat yourself up a little bit, but then you just have to remember that, hey, I'm one person out of the hundreds of thousands of people that are just sitting on their couch watching HBO right now, but I got out there and did it. I got out there and went to the classes and did the training and tried to listen to my coach and
Right.
And do all that versus those that didn't do anything. So,
well, you brought that up. You kind of jogged my memory on something. Last year, 2025, I traveled to Alabama to compete in the World Police Fire Games, and I trained in judo, and I trained in taekwondo, and I trained very, very hard leading up to this tournament. And we're talking 70 different countries. We're talking police, fire, military, EMS, all first responders. It's open to all these people. And what I didn't know at the time is some of these other countries stack their teams with Olympians. So my master, Darren Warren, went with me. We drove 12 hours to Alabama. We get there, and we check in, and then the next day I go to the judo tournament. I walk into this big convention center. It's got these real big, thick mats, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in there, all wearing gis like myself, either red or white or blue. I'm like, oh my God. So we go to weigh-in, and I'm not kidding. I'm probably the lightest person in the room and in my division, and I weighed 250 pounds. That was the heaviest I've ever been in my life. I've since lost about 35 pounds, but so
all right, congrats.
Thanks. So we weighed in, and then we go back to go home, and then I'm thinking, what the heck did I get myself into? So we go back the next morning, and we get there at 9:00, and I found the other USA people. One of them I had to fight against. He was in my division, and he was on the Team USA. I think he was an alternate for the 2000-something Olympics. I don't know which one it was. I can't remember. And he was shredded, and he weighed just as much as me or more. Shredded, though. So talking to the Team USA coach at the time, his name escapes me. I can get that for you, though. And he goes, I introduced myself. I didn't know him because, I signed up and went with my coach. And he goes, you do know who's in your division, right? I said, yeah, those 4 guys over there, 5 guys, those 6 guys. I'm like, those 6 guys. And he's like, yeah. You know who they are? I said, no. He goes, well, that one over there is on the Olympic team for China Taipei. I said, oh. He goes, that one is on the Olympic team for the country of Mongolia. That one over there is on the Olympic team for what was it, Brazil, and that one over there, it was an alternate for Team USA, and that one over there, I'm like, what the hell? I had 4 or 5 Olympians in my division, people that went to the Olympics. I've never been to the Olympics. I've watched it on TV, but you know, I'm never going to go to the Olympics. I'm like, now I have to fight these people. I'm like, geez Louise. So I walk up, my first event, Team USA guy, you know, within 3 seconds, Ippon, up and over, boom. I'm like, okay, this sucks. So I get up, and then my next match, it was Mongolia. He kept trying to grab my gi. I'm slapping his hand because I don't want him to get hold of me and manhandling me. I'm like, okay. So we go to a fight off, and he pointed me, and I lost that one. And then the Chinese Taipei, this guy weighed, he had to weigh 450, between 450 and 500 pounds. He was huge. So I go up to shake his hand beforehand, and he's like, he doesn't want nothing to do with me, won't talk to me, won't acknowledge me, won't smile, won't nothing. I'm like, this sucks. So we go to, we get in our match, and we bow in and go in, and we go at it. It's going back and forth, and I'm like, I'm doing everything I can not to let this dude get a hold of me. So I get the upper hand. In judo, you want to get the higher your grip on their collar, the better. So I get the highest grip. I'm like, yes. I'm so excited. And I grab his wrist, or his gi sleeve, and I'm wrenching it. I'm trying, and I'm starting to move. I'm like, oh my God. So I flip my whole body around, and I go to do Sanagi, and I had him. He was going. I felt his body going, and then out of nowhere, he twists his shoulder or something, and the fulcrum. I felt, honest to God, it felt like it was an eternity, and it maybe lasted 15, 20 seconds total. And in a fight, that is an eternity. But I felt it. I felt everything about my body shift. Up and over I went. Boom, Ippon. He beat me. I ended up placing third overall and medaling. So for me, that's a huge win because there was more than 3 Olympians in my division. So I was happy. I was ecstatic. My master Warren, gave me the biggest hug, and he's like, he was almost in tears. He was like damn near crying at the end, and he just told me how proud he was of me. So fast forward, then the next day, that was Taekwondo. I ended up finishing second in Taekwondo in Pumse, and that was a big win for me. So I was very excited and happy about that. But we looked up in the stands, and that big Chinese Taipei guy, he's sitting there smiling at me, and he looked like Yokozuna from WWE. And he's sitting there like this, and he goes, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, points down, he smiles at me, and he comes down, and he goes, you're going to be good. He goes, but you need to eat more. I'm thinking, what the hell, man? I'm 250 pounds. I'm almost obese as it is now. He goes, you eat more. He gave me a judo hat, and he gave me a judo hat and one of his police hats from his country. So to me, that was the most respect I've ever received from somebody of that stature in my life. So I look forward to seeing him in the next Olympics, and I'll be cheering for him because he is a class act guy.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I love those kind of stories. I mean, we may be competing against each other, but we can still all be friends and be connected and support each other. And then once again, just getting those wins, those little personal victories, and that sort of thing. That's what it's all about. It doesn't matter if you get the gold or whatever, as long as you were better than you were the day before. That's all that matters. So
absolutely,
very nice, very nice. All right, so let's want to make sure that we don't go too much over time.
You're fine.
But let's go ahead and talk about the podcast. So, how did that all start, and when did you decide that you wanted to choose a life of misery and work by starting a podcast? And we won't get too much in the weeds, but how many microphones do you have, or have you gone down that rat hole yet?
Yeah, I have. So it's funny. My wife just walked downstairs, and she's doing laundry right now. And this was a whim, and my wife hates it because she wants to plan something, and I said, you didn't tell me early enough. I scheduled 2 interviews that day, or something like that. So she gets a little perturbed with me. I will say that. And but yeah, no, this was just I was talking with Grandmaster Samuel Naples. He's one of my mentors as well, and I've trained with him. And I talked to Master Warren, and I talked to Grandmaster AJ Perry, and I said, hey, I've got this idea for an interview series, and it wasn't as big as I thought what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to just be, influential Taekwondo masters, like people that like Grandmaster C.S. Kim and Grandmaster, Perry and Grandmaster Naples, and just like some influential Taekwondo people, because that's what I study, and judo people. Well, it kind of grew, and it kind of grew to Kempo. It kind of grew to Shunryu Karate, Shotokan, and Jitokwan, and just started, it just opened up this rabbit hole. And, the more I started asking people, the more they obliged. And, I got some bigger names right off the rip. And, now I've got 20, 30 interviews lined up, and I don't even have dates for half of them yet, because I got to get through the first 10 to make sure that I don't have anything scheduled, or I don't have any mandatory overtime or anything like that. So rewind back to, this was an idea, and it blossomed. I didn't have a laptop. Went out and bought a laptop. Then I found that I didn't like using the little trackpad, so I bought a wireless mouse. And then I didn't like using the keyboard, so I went out and bought a mini keyboard. Then I didn't like using the screen on the laptop, so I bought a second monitor so that I could, have stuff pulled up when I'm talking to people, or have, see what the picture looks like, and just like stuff like that. And then I had a microphone boom, but the quality wasn't as where I thought it should be. So I bought this thing, which was this great microphone, Mayona. It's a 3-in-1. It's TLR. It's USB. It's wireless. You can use it with your phone. It's chargeable. This is great. They don't pay me. They didn't. I bought this. It was $100 and some. So this was a great microphone. But then I got lavalier microphones for if I go out and do an in-person interview, and then I got microphones. I got stands. I've got I had this thing behind me made, and then I bought a desk. I mean, I didn't have anything, but I started out, and I kept growing. Okay, I don't like this, so I got to get this. I don't like this, I got to get this, and then so it snowballed, and I probably got couple $1,000s worth of stuff that I bought for this podcast, and I'm making zero money on it. It's not about making money. I'm in it for the information, the knowledge, and the journey. So I'm having a blast with it. I'm meeting some wonderful martial artists and people like yourself, and I'm having a blast. We recently did a show called a segment that it's not going to be a regular segment. It was called The Watchdog, and that ruffled some feathers. And then I'm getting phone calls that they want to do a rebuttal. Okay, let's do it. So
very nice. Yeah. We are definitely kindred spirits, in that. We won't go. Oh, go ahead.
Let me add this. So as you know, there's a lot of work that goes into a podcast. Editing, tweaking it, putting music, putting an intro, putting in pictures, all that stuff. I just found out I was in the top 200 in Japan for my podcast. Of all places, Japan. It's like, the heart of, martial arts. It's one of the hubs of martial arts. It's, you know, you got China, Japan, and you got Okinawa. You know, it's where martial arts came from. You know, so I'm like super excited. So I'm like, okay, I got, you know, probably 5-6 episodes uploaded to Apple Podcast for Creators. Well, I'm like, as soon as I got that email that, you know, you're top 200 in their whole country, that's podcast worldwide for sports, top 200. I'm like, this is insane. I'm starting to grow. So I go to sign into the Apple Podcast for Creators yesterday. Somebody hacked my account, locked my account. I lost my Apple account. So now I have to start that over. Luckily, I only had 4 episodes on there. But I'm hoping that if I name it The Martial Perspective again, that, you know, I'll pick back up where it left off. But I was on the phone today and yesterday, a total like 4 hours with Apple, and that account's locked and it will never be reopened again because somebody hacked my account. I was very upset.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I don't have a ton of followers, but I'm holding on to dear life to the dozens of people that
I watch.
that listen to me ramble.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, no, definitely anything that I can do to help out, I am more than happy to. Despite what some people may think about podcasting, we are not all competitors.
No.
Although I admit, and I've told you this before, I'm a little jelly at some of the lineup that you have.
Thank you.
And some of the people that you've had on that I've been stalking, or maybe that's not the correct word, but there's a lot of people's inboxes that are probably tired of seeing my name pop up. But
well, if you need any help or anything I can do to help you, you know you have it. You got my phone number. Just give me a call. I'll help any way I can.
But yeah, but we're all about supporting each other, and
Yes.
and it's all in good fun. And yeah, the rat hole of podcasting equipment and accessories. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that offline.
Yes, sir.
As you would see my setup here, but yeah, it's all about fun and getting those stories out there and getting that information out there and sharing, and it's good fun. So
yes,
so I like it. All right, so we're going to move into our lightning round here. So I got a few little questions as we head towards wrapping up here. So the very first question is, do you have a favorite technique?
Yeah, turning back sidekick. It's quick. It's one of the most dangerous moves you can do in Taekwondo. It could change the scope of a sparring match or a fight in an instant. It's effective tournaments. It's effective on the street. Not as a cop, because it doesn't look kind and gentle, but it's a very, very great technique.
Very nice. I like it. All right. Next question. Do you have a favorite form, punse, kata, whatever term that you want to use there?
Yeah. Let me think about that. That's I like. God, there's some great forms. There's some really, really great forms. Shipjin. I like Shipjin. Shipjin is a beautiful form if it's done correctly. You got the rising suns in there. You got the horse stance back. And you got some great kicks and powerful punches. It goes at a few different angles. It's a fantastic form, and it's not terribly long, but it's not terribly short. It's a perfect. And if it's done correctly and done in a way, I think it's an unbeatable form, in my opinion.
Very nice. All right. Next question. Do you have a favorite weapon?
A favorite weapon? Jeff Speakman. No, I'm kidding. No, he's Kempo. Favorite weapon?
Hey, it's a weapon.
Yeah.
It's a perfect one apparently.
Probably sword. Probably broadsword. Master Perry just taught us this really, really cool broadsword a form, and it looks it's incredible. I can't wait to use it in a tournament. Broadsword by far.
Very nice, very nice. I like it. I like it. All right. Next question: if there is anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, who would that be?
Anybody I could train with? Well, I train with a bunch of living legends as it is now, so I'm very fortunate with training with Grandmaster Naples, Grandmaster AJ Perry, Grandmaster Buddy Brown, Grandmaster Chuck Sheridan. I've trained with some of the best possible people you'll ever meet in your life. For selfish reasons, I'd like to train with Frank Dukes because I want to see how full of crap he is.
Oh my goodness! I'm gonna say it's pretty safe to say that you're the first person to ever pick him. So
That was more of a joke, but yeah, no, I just I train with some great people. I'm fortunate, but yeah, no, I just heard some stuff, so yeah, I'd like to see how. Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
yeah, no, he's a interesting person to say the least. So.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. All right. So then our last question here. What is something that always motivates you to train and or something you want to put out to motivate others to train? So I use the example of the movie Rocky IV, the training montage of him doing the work in the snow and then lifting the boulders and all that kind of stuff. I see that scene and I'm always kind of ready to get out on the mat and get to work. However, I may have to start altering that because it kind of came to my attention recently, and I hadn't really thought about this before. But the training montage in Rocky IV, he's doing a lot of good work and stuff, but he's not really training to fight.
No.
Versus the training montage in Rocky III, where all he's doing is fighting and doing things, specifically for training to fight. But
Right.
it just kind of struck me as kind of funny. I was like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, running around and doing all that stuff is great, but
Building a house,
he wasn't
maybe.
really, yeah, he wasn't really fighting. It's great training for carpentry work, but maybe not so much in a boxing ring. But yeah, what is something that always motivates you to train, or something that you'd like to share to motivate others to train?
You know what? Every day is a possibility to get better. Every day you wake up, you kick your shoes on, you eat breakfast and everything like that. You always have an opportunity to get better. My motivation is my children, my wife, because I want to come home. Anything that I can do to get better, to have the competitive advantage at work, or I'm talking about not against my coworkers, but against any opposition I may come into contact with. I want to come home. I want to go to work, and I want to come home safe to my family. Every day I think about training. It's odd because every day I go to work at the same time. I leave work fairly early because I like to get to work and mentally prepare myself. And I kiss my wife goodbye, and as I'm walking to my car, I'm thinking about, okay, am I ready for this? Martial arts mentally prepares people for what they're doing, and that motivates me. My family motivates me. Now, if there was a movie training montage that motivates me, I would say The Karate Kid Part 1, when he's training, and he's on the boat and you have the music, and it's uplifting. I like it.
No, For sure, for sure. Yeah, it's a classic for a reason. Yeah, very
Yes.
nice. Very nice. All right, so we are now at our very final piece of business for our time today, and that is the shameless self-promotion. So you can plug anything that you want, or if there's anything that we hadn't covered that you wanted to make sure to say, you now have the floor, and then we'll close out from there.
Well, I want to tell you that you're doing a great job. You've had some fantastic guests. You cover a lot. You have some interesting questions, and I think you're doing a great job. As for me, I don't really have anything to say. I'm thankful that you gave me this opportunity, this platform to tell my story. As many times in this whole little industry that we got going on here, I'm asking other people questions. I'm not talking about myself. I don't typically like to talk about myself because I don't think I've done enough to warrant it. But obviously you saw something and you thought that this would be a great opportunity. But, I want to promote you, and I want to thank you for what you're doing. And I think you're spreading some good stuff. I think that you're promoting some good stuff. And, I look forward to watch you grow and help you in any possible way I can.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, no, I thank you so much for your support. And since you didn't do it, I will do it for you. So I'm going to put in a plug for your podcast, The Martial Perspective.
Thank you.
I been trying to get some viewing in my busy schedule. I know I did watch your interview with Mark Tracy, who I've been. I've been trying to get on the show for probably over a year now, so
I'll see what I can do for you.
So we're gonna get you. We're gonna get you. Yeah, I only in the nicest possible way though. But
yes.
We actually talked to the other day, so we're still getting it together. But
yes, sir.
I've been just trying to catch up on what you've been doing and. I love having another perspective to where we have overlap on guests. That's always a good thing, and then getting exposed to other people that I don't know about. I'm not super familiar with the who's who in the Taekwondo world, and so it's always good to get that. So yeah, for the viewers and listeners out there, if you're gonna get some more if you're hungry for some more stuff after watching my show, then definitely go out and get the Martial Perspective. Make sure to subscribe and like and watch all the good stuff that he's doing. So
Thank you.
So yeah, I thank you so much for taking the time to be on and sharing your story. And of course, you have the open invitation to be on anytime. There's so many things that we want to get into, but we can't have a 15-hour show. So we'll
do it again.
we'll end our time for today, and we'll have you back on in the future to get into more topics and stuff. And once again, I just can't thank you enough for being on and sharing your story.
Yes, sir. Thank you.